actually pretty hyped about the 1v1 tournament. I think more so as the 5v5 tournament. So I just hope we win.
そうですね、1対1モードは去年も僕オールスターに参加したんですけど
I know that Japan has like very good players in their 1v1, but I think we can't really tell against who will we go against in like the matchup.
信頼できる選手にエビ君を挙げたんですけど、逆に言えば結構
I expect a lot from my team actually. I know being Latin America, normally we're the butt of the jokes, but I feel like our chances are pretty good.
オールスターの中で尊敬してるライバル視のようなものをしているのはやっぱり同じミッドレーナーである選手とか、あとは
We're gonna have fun and play.
Confident in my team, even if it's like a fun game mode or something, like you don't want to lose. You want to have fun, but you don't want to lose.
Welcome back to the IWCA, where we are about to get into one of the greatest tests that a League of Legends player could ever endure, the 1 versus 1. Now, we've mixed things up a little bit here on the analyst desk. Zach Rusty Pie is still joining us, but this veritable cloud doppelganger is Richard Pulse Cam, our 1v1 expert. So here's how it's going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Our 1v1s will be played on the Howling Abyss. The first player to get a kill, 100 CS, or destroy a tower wins. And now, the two regions battling it out today will be Japan and Latin America North. It'll be a best of 5, and the teams predetermine the order in which their players go up. So, what is the meta, Pulse? What are we expecting for this year's 1v1?
I have a lot to live up to. Introducing me as like the expert of the desk here when I got Rusty next to me, I know we're going to be able to bring it to the table. But just looking at like generally how 1v1s have gone, like range champions like Caitlyn, Quinn, anything with like kill potential like that, and with Poke, very high in the priority. Looking at different champions and like of course how Saturns are coming in, that could change a little bit. But there will be like a mini meta that forms over the next couple of days.
And of course, the reason you're the expert is because Rusty and I both lost our 1v1s in our practice event yesterday. The only person on this desk to win his out overall. But interestingly enough, I feel it's important to point out to you guys and everyone at home watching that this particular rule in our format, Section 5, Subsection 3, Rule 2.2, the Froggen Rule. Players will not be allowed to redo a match if they snowball themselves into the enemy fountain. Now, this rule has been inserted due to an incident at a previous All-Star event, and it was named after its perpetrator. Let's take a look.
I think it's safe to say that this was a disaster.
Where did he go?
The sad part is it happens more than once from the last All-Star, so you might have remembered this. How embarrassing.
And maybe this one as well.
That one felt on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, the time was a little too good. Because there was a delay there as well, and it's like, oh, I can still click Snowball. Let's go. And yeah, after that, he wasn't allowed to carry on doing that. So yeah, we've removed that from the ability to play.
Yeah, so 1v1s aside, is there any new champion, before we toss things over, that you guys think is going to make a splash here? Any reworked champions of the Assassins that you think particularly stands out in the context of 1v1?
I don't think there's a particular assassin that stands out unless you really want to go deep and cheese with something like a Rengar or Kha'Zix. I personally look towards Pantheon as a big pick, Karma as another big pick, and the entirety of the marksman position. And by marksman, I'm also including champions like Kindred in there that we need to actually consider.
Definitely interesting to see. Pulse, your thoughts?
So I think there is a potential for us to see Cat, but only if players have gone really in on like actually learning her, because she's a very high skill cap champion, and if someone actually like knows that's the case, then someone's just going to ban it out against them. So there's a chance we see a player pick up that Cat arena and actually bring it to someone, because there is so much outplay potential. But other than that, I agree with Rusty.
Well, a lot of mechanical prowess on both these teams. So to kick off our 1v1 tournament, Japan of Team Fire will be facing off against Latin America North from Team Ice. The teams are almost ready to send in their first combatants, so let's send it over to our casters.
Thank you, Sifa. I'm Matthew Fish-Stewart, and joined by Andrew Vedieste for the first 1v1 tournament, a 1v1 match of this tournament. Yes. And we're about to go in for Japan taking on Latin America North. Vedius, what do you want to kick this one off with?
So we need to give some people, or the viewers at home, some information about this 1 versus 1 tournament. So the first bit of information that you need to know is players have no prior knowledge as to who they're going to be playing against. And that's pretty stressful. We had a bit of a fun 1 versus 1 last night where we had the European team going up against the Australian team. We had the same rule set, and it's very difficult deciding who you want to send up first. Do you want to send your best? Do you want to send your worst? Like, maybe you want to meet in the middle? Like, it's very difficult. So it adds adds to the next level of mind games there as well.
And unlike the analyst desk, which only had one person who won their match, you know, both of us won our 1v1
We did,
matches,
in fact.
so
We did, in fact, win both of our 1 versus 1s because we're the best.
we pretty much are. We did pretty well there. And, you know, all 5 representatives have to play in this match. Like you said, nobody is really going to know who they're playing up against. That order is kept secret until they see each other for the first time.
Yes, and the win goes to who wins the best of 5, but all 5 matches will still be played. So you guys are guaranteed 5 1 versus 1. We're guaranteed to cast 5 1 versus 1s, which means that more action for us.
And right away, let's get into that first one-on-one matchup. It's going to be Evie from Japan from the top lane, taking out Oddie from Latin America North, coming from the jungle.
Now, remember, guys, these players had no idea that they would be going up against each other. They have no idea who their opponents are. So we have a top laner versus a jungler. Oddie, very much a skirmish player. We did see him bringing out the Ivern earlier on. Be very surprised if he brought it out in a 1 versus 1. But he is the type of player that very much likes to get in your face, likes to go for fights. Whereas Evie's more of the, hey, I'm more of a tanky bruiser kind of guy that's used to skirmishing all the time. So I think it could be quite the intricate matchup.
Yeah, even though Latin America North didn't do too well earlier, it definitely looked like Oddie was standing out on that Ivern jungle, impressed quite a few people. And you were mentioning that, like you said just then, it is a very interesting matchup against Evie just because of the type of top lane champions he plays as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's famous for his Tahm Kench in Japan. Like, he is well known for this champion. We saw it come out earlier on the day to great success for his team. And in all honesty, like, but the thing is, people always have pocket picks for this 1 versus 1 because nobody really like admits it, but the truth is everyone comes here to play this. They're proving that they are the best and they have all these planned picks. Last night, I agreed with Rusty to have a Lee Sin off. So we had 1 versus 1. We had same summoner spells. We were very, we wanted to try and keep the matchup as even as possible. And some players do that. We know from last year's All-Stars, I think like Bjergsen liked to do it. He would just say, hey, are you happy to play this matchup? And then people would just do the same matchup 1 versus 1. But other people have secret strats. They have secret plans in mind. And we're going to see what these devious minds have in store for us.
Well, it is a top laner taking on a jungler, so we'll have to see if they have some form of agreement here or if they're going to be picking some unique champions here to take to the Rift for the first one-on-one match of this tournament. Waiting to see what Evie and Oddie are going to be banding out here.
So, as you heard on the desk, things like Caitlyn are very obnoxious to play against. Ashe can be a little bit of a pain as well. Thinking of slightly more interesting picks, you could go for a Teemo. I know there are some dastardly evil plans that you can conduct with that little mastermind, but there's just so much. There's so much. You have to see how the 1v1 meta develops.
I know that Teemo gets picked, Vedius. You definitely have a lot of analysis to prepare for that pick. And like you mentioned earlier, Caitlyn already being banned out here by Team Fire. On the side of Team Ice, Nasus is going to be taken away.
Yeah, that usually it would have been AP Susan that you would have been bringing out. So you max the E you get for a lot of ability power. You try and shove the wave, go for the 100 CS. Don't want to be playing against that. We want raw aggression. But it looks like we're going to see some of that raw aggression banned away.
Yeah, we see 2 mages being banned away. Next, first up is going to be Wunk, followed up by Syndra.
So Syndra ban is a little bit interesting. She hits a big spike at about the level 6 mark, but everybody knows how powerful she is in the 1 versus 1 mid lane. Reworked LeBlanc is just way too painful to deal with. The moment she hits level 3, not only does she have incredibly good wave clear, but her trading power is very good. And right now it just looks like both of them are just banning away a lot of mid laners.
And the final 2 bans that come out are going to be Cassiopeia as well as Pantheon. Pantheon proved during our playtest videos that it's an incredibly strong pick. And look at that, instantly locking in here the Rengar coming out from Oddie.
Rengar locked in. Exhaust, Ignite. Oddie is going out. He's sticking to what he knows with the junglers. We are going to be seeing the reworked Rengar. He has had some of the changes made to his ferocity. And oh my, this is going to be an exciting one.
We haven't seen him being played on the Summoner's Rift map just yet, but for the first time and in the first 1v1 match, he'll be played for Team Ice. And it is currently tied up at the end of the day here, Vedius. It's 2-2, so this 1v1 match decides who comes out on top at the end of day 1, and Swain is going to be locked in here for Evie.
Swain. Now remember that Swain's actually had quite a lot of changes over time. He was very strong for a period. He took a couple of nerfs, especially to the cooldown on his ultimate, which really mitigated a lot of his strength. But still, quite the potent duelist, especially as time goes on. I think in terms of the early levels, Rengar is going to have a big advantage. But with both laners running Exhaust and Ignite, it's difficult to say whether or not Rengar will be able to get that early lead.
We'll have to see how that one's going to pan out. Like you said, both champions really being changed here. Seems like they're kind of sticking to what they used to. You can see Oddie's picking up a jungler S-champion. We see Swain being picked up by the top laner. So going back to a little bit of comfort for these two players.
Yeah, that certainly seems like that. And I mean, when we talk about Evie, he's still playing that kind of bruiser, skirmishy style of top laner with the Swain. You can definitely get in someone's face. You can put a lot of early harass down with the ranged advantage that you have. But for Rengar, it's going to be very much about bush control. You know, you have that mastery where you get a bit of additional damage from just coming out of the bush. And you also have the empowered Q now. It can do a lot of damage. Like, so it's all going to be about bush control and how well Evie can abuse that early game range advantage.
It certainly is going to be that case. We'll have to see if he can bust out the Rengar well enough to take down the Swain coming out from Japan's side of Team Ice. Like we mentioned earlier, it is a best of 5. Every single player will have to play at least one game, but whoever gets 3 wins out of the 5 matches will win this 1v1 and will put their team ahead for day 1 of the International Wildcard All-Stars. But enough of that. We're on to the Howling Abyss for the Snowdown Showdown. It's going to be Oddie taking on Evie.
Oh man, this is exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing the reworked Rengar going up against Evie. You notice that Evie, he's already playing for the, I know what you're trying to do in the early game, mate. I know exactly what you're planning. I'm just going to get another layer of clothing to keep me safe from you. I'm going to go for the pots, going to keep myself alive, and I don't care how much harass you put down onto me. I'm going to go for that relatively early back, and I'm going to work towards some AP so I can eventually outscale you.
Yep, we can see cloth armor and 4 pots being picked up by Evie. Still has that exhaust ignite on the side of Oddie. He's gone for the Doran's Blade with that single health potion.
I mean, that just spells aggression to me from Oddie. He's going to be going for the jungle. Oh, and he's already going for it.
Yeah, already jumping on top of Evie. Gets him down to half health. Evie is able to trade back quite effectively against Oddie, though, being the ranged champion he is.
Now remember the sustain, but look at the damage.
Exhaust is going down. Ignite's going down as well. Oddie wants this one, but Evie is able to get back underneath his turret.
Oh my word, Oddie, he is just being relentless. Both summoner spells already used, and this is what we were talking about during Champions Slate. Because of the exhaust picked up by Evie, he's able to buy himself a little bit of time, and if he hadn't ran that summoner spell, he could have lost his life right there. So he is going to be able to sustain back up to level 2.
Oddie's going to be able to slow him down. Takes a turret hit there, but will be able to stay pretty safe, shoving Evie deep underneath his turret. In fact, he's already used his final health potion.
So Oddie right now, oh look, here comes the Ignite.
Ignite's going in, he's looking for it, but still it's going to be first blood that gets picked up by the Rengar. Oddie takes down Evie.
Evie, man, you played for the late game. You went for the cloth armor. You couldn't go that aggressive. You felt like that you had the summoner spell advantage, but it ends up going horribly wrong. The level 3 Rengar to the level 2 Swain just wasn't the damage that he was expecting. Oddie, man, he knows his Rengar.
Just like that, you can already see Oddie able to do well in that match. Played the Rengar really well. Jumped him in 3-4 times there, Vegas.
Yeah.
It just seems like there was no respect coming out from Swain.
that was so much fun. I really enjoyed watching the Rengar because you could see he was just like right from the start. He's like, I have to be aggressive as I can. I can't play this passively. I have to dive, 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 dive. And so he was moving into that forward bush, jumping in as often as he could. And then at the very end, he felt like that, oh no, I'm going to be chased. I'm going to be chased down. But no, he was just luring him into a trap. He jumps into the brush. He gets that empowered damage that you get from the new mastery. On top of the Q stack, like bam, instant turnaround. Really well played.
And just like that, already Team Ice, they're 1-0 up in this best of 5 series. Now, really curious to see who they're going to send out next because it was a top laner taking on a jungler. And in fact, we already have the next 2 coming up here. It's going to be Haretti from Japan, the AD carry of their team, taking on the AD carry of the other team. It's going to be EvanRL.
So we have AD carry versus AD carry, and this is going to be another very interesting matchup, largely because Haretti, he wasn't the fan favorite. He wasn't the guy that came in as necessarily the superstar from the region, but he is still here to represent his region in a strong way. He had a decent performance earlier on in the day, and he's going to be going up against Evan, who, I mean, he's an American export. He came down to Latin North America. He came in from the team and he was voted in because of his skill and because of his talent. And I mean, that's a big achievement for him, you know, being from North America, not from Latin North America. And I mean, it's very impressive. So now Haretti's going to get that opportunity to prove himself and say, hey, look, I deserve to be here and I can play just as well as you can.
And we already saw how vocal EvanRL was previously, saying he didn't want to come in here and just show the world that Latin America, he wanted to show the world, sorry, that Latin America North were not the butt of all jokes. He wanted to show that they mean something and they're here to fight. He's going to have to try and take down Haretti here. AD carry against AD carry. We just saw a top laner taking on a jungler Vedius. What are the chances? We have the same role matchup against each other.
I mean, well, it's largely dependent because what we saw earlier on was actually still a lot of mid lane bans. It does seem that things like the Syndra, the LeBlanc, the Ryze are still considered very powerful in terms of the 1 versus 1. And so moving forward, we might see a similar thing, or we might think, okay, these guys are more comfortable on AD carries, so we're just going to take them off that.
We'll have to see what they're going to be able to pick up here. The two AD carries will be taking on each other in the second match of this best of 5 series, and we're already into picks and bans. Cassiopeia and Jace being banned out by Team Fire, as we have Caitlyn and Kennen being banned out by Team Ice.
Gotta be honest, I'm loving this music, man. Like, it's really getting me into the mood. Like, we're seeing all sorts of crazy bands. I mean, well, I say crazy bands. These are pretty consistent from what we saw earlier on. The addition of Jace has now been added to the list. Kennen, very potent in terms of the 1v1. He's actually surprisingly good mid laner. Quinn and Syndra now being added as well. So there's still a lot of AD carries left available. You could go for something like the Ashe. I've heard that Ezreal is actually pretty potent in the 1v1 as well, especially early on in the levels. But remember that Susan has been let through.
Yeah, we saw that banned out earlier. We'll have to see if it's going to be locked in here for Team Ice, but already Team Fire, Haretti sticking to his guns, sticking to an AD carry. He picks up Ashe, going with the Exhaust and Ignite, but it is going to be Nasus locked in here for EvanRL.
Now remember, Team Ice, they have a 1-game advantage, so they can afford to be a little bit more out there with this pick. He's decided he's still going to go for the farm route, but he's actually going to change it up for more of a pushing farm style rather than the last hitting kind. You know, this is much more efficient. This is much easier. Who cares about last hits when you could clear the entire wave with a single ability?
And no exhaust coming out for EvanRL. He's gone for the flash.
Wow.
Of the Nasus.
Coward.
Coward,
in my opinion. You know,
I
like,
say very smart.
Smart? No. Cowardly. I mean, who runs escape spells in a 1v1? It's do or die.
Hey, this is coming from the man who told Rusty they have to take Flash Ignite on Lee Sin.
Well,
Where was the exhaust bit?
Because I wanted to give him the opportunity to run away from me, okay? I mean, I have to give him that right, you know? Not everyone can stare into the face of death and be okay with it, so I wanted to give him the opportunity to leap.
Apparently Rusty couldn't. He was the one that fell in that 1v1 match. We'll have to see who's going to take this second match here. Nasus against
Oh,
Ashe.
he changed it. He changed up. He's changed to the Exhaust Ignite. There we are. He can look death in the face and say, I will take you on.
Well, let's see if he can do just that. Because no flash on the Howling Abyss, because we're about to go down for the next showdown. Snowdown Showdown. It's a little bit of a tongue twister.
So here we are, ladies
yes.
and gentlemen. A classic matchup. Nasus versus Ashe. Very common in the Summoner's Rift. No, obviously I'm kidding. See, the problem is it's really hard for me not to call him Susan, because if you read Nasus backwards, it spells Susan. So all of my mates and I like to call him Susan the Friendly Puppy. He's apparently beatboxing right now to the beats, and Ashe is thoroughly enjoying them.
Yeah, Haretti's just dancing to the sick beats that EvanRL is laying down right now. Minions have finally spawned on the Howling Abyss. And like you mentioned earlier, Vetus, it is going to be that AP Nasus, which we expected.
Yep, so he's going to be going for the, just confirm, I do believe he will have taken some points in his E. Yep, yes, he has. And so he's just going to go for that early wave kit. Now, you actually have a fair amount of damage. Like, it should certainly not be underrated. So maybe at level 6 he goes for an all-in. But again, against Exhaust, like, it becomes very difficult to try and commit to that. And Ashe is still very good at kiting you, even through the Wither. So I think that the farm game will be the main priority, but it's range versus melee. And if you make one mistake, it's these small bits of farm that really count towards getting the edge in that farm game.
Well, already to start things off, Haretti's got some decent harass down on towards EvanRL, chipping away at him every chance he gets. Both of them hit level 2 at the exact same time here, both trying to farm up as much as they possibly can. But EvanRL not having the best of time here on the Howling Abyss so far.
Well, he's still even on farm, and that's the priority for him. Note, for those at home desperate to learn how to play Nasus mid in the 1v1, he has decided to take Wither second. I think a large part of that is because he's preparing around a potential all-in of the Ashe, because now that she's level 2, she will have taken points in a W, taken points in the Q, which actually gives her a decent amount of damage, especially against only a level 2 Nasus, who doesn't really have that much armor in his kit. So he's just saying, okay, I'm going to skill Wither just so that if the Ashe does decide to hard engage on me, I can at least just disengage almost immediately.
And he's been able to wave clear really effectively so far, Vetus. He's ahead in CS by 3 minions, and Haretti has not been able to push his minion wave into the turret except for the first wave.
I gotta be honest, shocking, Haretti, the fact that you are missing these last hits as an AD carry main, right? I have no mercy here in the 1v1. If you're going to play for the farm game, then you've got to be prepared, because if this is your strategy, you've got to make sure that you land those last hits. And right now, he is falling a little bit behind. but he can't afford to lose these 2 minions right now, okay? Now, another thing we should note about the tower is it does a little bit more damage. So no longer do you want to do 1 hit on a caster minion and then let the tower hit and then hit it. All you need now is tower hit, and you can kill it with a basic attack. So it's very important that you're aware of how much damage the tower actually does, because it is very different to your standard summoner's rift.
Oh, I have to keep that one in mind. EvanRL so far just farming it up, absolutely ignoring Haretti. Every single time he gets harassed by the Ashe, he just does not care. Has popped a health potion, seems like he wants to head back to base and pick up a couple of extra items. He's well on his way for the long game here, Vidius. 25 minions to 19.
Oh, look at that. Double Doran's ring. He's just showing off that bling right now. Coming back to lane, stacking up the AP, currently sitting on roughly, I would say about, he's sitting on 71 ability power right now. So given that his E has a pretty good ratio on it, it's just going to add to his wave clear even more. And the fact that Haretti is missing all this early farm is honestly really going to hurt him.
It's going to force Haretti to go back to base as well. EvanRL picking up a lot of minions. He is now about 6 minions ahead of Haretti. That's a full minion wave, and he should be able to shove this next wave in towards Haretti's tower.
So Haretti being put on the back foot. You know, you have to wonder why you'd go for it. Like, I can understand the Ashe, but like, it's about understanding the 1 versus 1 meta. And when you think of champions like Pantheon, when you think of like, hey, maybe he's gonna bring out the Narcissus, you know, you always have to be prepared. And I feel like Ashe isn't the safest blind pit. You know what I mean? Like, because neither of them can see what the other team is picking until it's locked in. Then you can prepare to play around it. And I feel like that if you're the Ashe, maybe you do go for the flash. Maybe you use it aggressively though, like, you know, you manly dive in. You try and force him back as often as you can. But when you're running Exhaust Ignite, you'd think you have a lot of kill pressure, but with the Wither, it's actually very hard to close the gap against the Narcissus and really exert that range pressure that you have.
See, Haretti was trying to pull the minion wave closer back towards his turret, still about 7 minions behind EvanRL. He will hit level 6 shortly, so we'll have to see if he can make a play with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but level 6 also gives EvanRL a lot of safety with his own ultimate.
The problem for Haretti right now is that he's actually going to get level 6 behind EvanRL, so he can't even take advantage of any level spike. EvanRL isn't even interested in trying to kill him. He knows he has the farm lead. He knows that if he just keeps his playstyle up, he's eventually going to win. And I mean, yes, it's a reliable strategy, but this is not the strategy I personally could take. Again, as I mentioned, it's do or die. You have to kill your opponent. Oddie's playstyle earlier, that's my kind of playstyle in the 1v1.
So that's what you want to see a little bit more?
That's what I want to see more of, you know. I mean, I can respect the calculated playstyle. It definitely makes a lot of sense. Oh, here comes the arrow.
He's going for Haretti, chasing down EvanRL. He's popped the ultimate, uses the exhaust as well. Now they're going for that fight. Both ignites getting put down. Ash is trying to kite backwards. EvanRL, can he do it? He can, as he puts down the final E to pick up first blood.
Oh, Haretti, he feels like, I can do this, I can outplay him, but Evan used the E so early on that by the time, because of how extended the fight was, he was able to get a second proc of it off, and there was no flash on Haretti. He'd used his summoner spells, and oh man, that was more explosive than I was expecting it to be. They hit 6, they just went for it. But props to Haretti, he realized he was going to lose the farm game and felt like, hey, I have to commit, so better now than never.
It's almost like they heard you there, Vidius. They knew that you wanted some action. They delivered right at the end, and here's a replay of that fight.
So you can see that Evan had already used his E. It was still on cooldown now, and Haretti thinks that as long as I can kite the Q, I'll be fine. Completely forgets that he's running AP Narcissus, and then ends up taking that small amount of burst from the E at the very end. So a little bit unfortunate, but that's going to be 2 points now going over to Ice. So Fire, they're on the back foot right now.
It certainly is. And although it is 2 points to Ice, even if they win the next game and win the 1v1 tournament, sorry, the 1v1 match here, they would still play out all 5 games. So we still have 3 more exciting 1v1 matchups. And the next match is going to be even more exciting, Vidius, because we have 2 mid laners taking on one another, as Ceros will be taking on Seiya.
Now, we've hyped these players up well-deservedly, I feel. We've seen very impressive performances. Well, not so much from Seiya recently, but in the past, Seiya has been all about outplaying his lane opponent, going for kills, and I have heard secrets, I have heard whispers that Seiya has come prepared with a pocket pick. Now, I'm not going to say it out loud just yet. Not until we get into Champions Select, or actually not at all, unless it gets locked in, because he might be saving it for later on in the tournament. You never know. So this man, he has a pick prepared, and if he brings it out my word, it'll be exciting.
It'll be a good time to bring it out to secure this match for Team Ice. Seiya will be looking for this win over Ceros. You know, it's 2 mid laners, Vedius. You might get your wish come true as well.
I want 2 Katarinas.
There
you know
could
that's
be 2
my
Katarinas.
Wish. That's my wish. Okay, because blades everywhere. I'm actually really curious, because I haven't tested this, but if you can get resets off of your opponent's blades. I would assume you can't, but you know, like there's no guarantee that that isn't the case. Like you can catch opponent Draven axes.
Yeah, so if you can catch axes, you should be able to pick up blades.
You'd think so.
You'd think that'd be the case.
That'd be hilarious.
That makes me really surprised though that you didn't challenge Rusty to a one-on-one Katarina.
He wouldn't because he so what he wanted is he said, hey, how about we do 2 champions that neither of us play? What he didn't know is I played Lee Sin for a year, but I didn't tell him that. So that's why he didn't want to do Katarina. So he just said, you know what, let's not do Katarina because I feel like I'd be heavily outclassed. So
okay.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I gave him a fair and even matchup.
Well, we still have a chance to see 2 Katarinas in this match because both mid laners will be taking to the Howling Abyss shortly here. Ceros taking out Seiya. We're into Champion Select for the 3rd 1v1 match of this Best of 5 series. Right away, Caitlyn being banned out, LeBlanc is the 2nd ban.
I gotta be honest, at first I thought this was Eye of the Tiger, and I was getting it really hyped then, you know, like start the montage going, you know, both these players, mid laners from their respective regions that have been considered one of the best.
Mate, this is better than Eye of the Tiger.
Oh,
what are you talking about?
Certainly getting me hyped. Very consistent bans throughout. Nothing too surprising as of yet. LeBlanc and Quinn going to be taken away from the side of Seiya. Means that Cassio is still up, one of Seiya's favorites. Has been, he didn't have a great performance earlier on in the day, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he still knows how to play very well.
Nasus is still up as well, so far 100% picked and banned. Syndra was taken away by Team Fire here. We saw a Jace ban being thrown into the mix in the last game.
There's also Ashe is up. I mean, it wasn't that bad. He came very close to getting the win. Ezreal, I still feel like Ezreal is a very powerful pick that not many players have taken advantage of just yet. But also we should note like the strategy that has come in. So from the side of Team Fire, they sent in their top laner first, then they went AD carry, now they're going mid. So they bring out the big guns now, or maybe they've waited too late.
So no ban coming out from Team Fire here, and an instant lock-in of the Vel'Koz coming out for Ceros. Misfortune was the final ban from Team Ice.
Well, we saw the Vel'Koz earlier on in the day work surprisingly well against Oceania. I mean, it was a very good pick, something that he's very comfortable on. But Seiya saying, hey, I need revenge for my bad performance earlier on, so what better way to do that than to play the Revenge Master Draven? This guy going to be spinning his way and perhaps guarantee that win for us.
Well, we saw earlier, Ceros was, like you said, able to take down Swiffer one-on-one and took him down from 100% health to absolutely nothing, so he should be very confident on this Vel'Koz, but he's up against a Draven, and it seems like Draven's bringing Exhaust and Ignite onto Summoner's Rift here.
That does seem to be the common theme. Ceros deciding to go for heal, I can respect that, you know, because typically you don't run Ignite on the Vel'Koz. You know, it is something that when you're playing a mid lane mage, you're not really ever in range to use the Ignite, and if you're getting in range of a Draven, I mean, you're kind of asking for a bad time, so I can understand why he'd want to do that. Helps him disengage, help him, you know, in a bit of a tricky situation, but in terms of the early game, definitely in favor of the Draven, especially if he's going to go likely for a double Doran's Blade into the 4 longswords, something that Rusty and I did yesterday, where if you're on an AD champion, it's just better to stack those longswords in the early game because they just give you so much item efficiency and it's just so easy to pick them up.
Whereas for the side of Ceros, it really feels like on his Vel'Koz, he just wants to sit back, you know, relax a little bit, try and poke the Draven out, farm till 6, and then look for that all-in engage. But we're getting back onto the Snowdown Showdown here as we're heading onto Howling Abyss for the matchup between the 2 mid laners from the LJL and Latin America North. We'll have to see which one can pick up a win here for Team Ice or Team Fire.
Now the risk for Seiya. Gonna get to lane a little bit slow. Now this is another big risk, right? This is another layer to the 1 versus 1 fish, because buying your items, knowing what you're gonna buy first is very important, because you wanna buy, get straight into lane, and then get control over that front push, because it not only does it give you poke priority, but it allows you to set up the wave so that you can actually freeze it and get it pushing towards you. Now Seiya, he managed to get there soon enough that he could go back and move with his minion wave, and now he's actually using the minion wave as a wall, so he has good understanding that the wave, the bush no longer belongs to him, but Ceros, his understanding of geometry is just next level.
Yep, the geometry tentacles from Ceros is enough to get the first poke down on towards Seiya. For now, it looks like just going to be farming it up to start things off. Seiya catching as many axes as possible. Unfortunately, no more bleed applies from Draven's passive.
No.
That was taken out quite some time ago, so no passive available for Seiya.
And even if he gets a kill, he's not going to be able to take advantage of the gold, so he's effectively got no passive.
But he is Draven, so he'll still get adoration. That's all he really needs here.
Now the problem Ceros has is in the early game, because he's decided to go Q for the harass, he doesn't actually have that much wave clear, which is why Seiya has been able to get the early shove on. But the moment Ceros gets level 2, he'll start being able to push the wave back in his favor. Right now he's just doing what he can. He's actually doing a good job of last hitting, but Seiya's punishing him very well.
He certainly has, poking off Ceros here. Both of them started with a Doran's item, Doran's blade coming out from Seiya, Doran's ring coming out from Ceros. So they'll have 1 potion for the AD carry and 2 for the AP mid laner. But for now, Seiya just still hovering the wave just beyond the tower aggro of Ceros, making sure he shoves it in and denies as much farm as possible while poking away with his auto attacks.
Well, props to Ceros. He actually hasn't... Oh, I was just about to say he hasn't missed a farm, and then he goes and misses one. Ceros, letting me down, my friend. Now, the healing packs, these are actually really interesting because they spawn at the 2:15 mark. And what you want to try and do is, if you can, you push the late wave up, ready for that point, and then you take away your opponent's healing camp. Because if you're able to do that, you have a massive sustain advantage, and you can afford to take trades that you necessarily wouldn't want to, because you still have your healing pack in the back half of your base.
Unfortunately for Seiya, was not able to deny Ceros' healing pack. He still picked that one up for himself. Got a bit of health and mana back to sustain underneath his own turret. They're still just farming away here. Seiya does have the slight advantage, but is running out of mana. Will head back towards his own turret to pick up his own health relic.
And I mean, right now, you can just... It might not feel like it, but there's actually a lot of tension between these two players, because when you're actually on stage in this environment, it's just, you're constantly thinking about, when do I go in? You're trying to track cooldowns, you're trying to track abilities, because you want to pick the best window to try and outplay your opponent, because in reality, no one wants to go for 100 farm. You want to kill your opponent, you want to prove that you're the better player, and it's just, even though it looks slow, even though it doesn't look like that much is happening, there's a lot of tension right now on the Rift.
We saw just then, Ceros drops a spell rotation, clears out the wave, heads back to base, and picks up another Doran's ring for himself, as well as a cloth armor. Seiya giving up 1 minion to hold the wave closer towards his turret, and he'll head back to base and buy as well.
Thing is, that's actually going to push the wave much more heavily towards Ceros. I suppose, given that Seiya does have the farm advantage, he's okay with this for now. But it does mean that the wave will push towards Ceros. So this isn't actually a bad thing for him. He wants to work towards that level 6 mark. He's even positioned in a way that he can get a bit more harass down onto Seiya. But here we are, the sword build coming out. Ceros even picking himself up a bit of armor to try and mitigate that damage that he's able to throw out. And now Ceros can be the one to be on the aggressive.
Seiya's being rather aggressive there, tries to knock back Ceros, but heads in towards the brush. Seiya getting slowed down. And Ceros is now the one that's pushing in towards Draven. Not able to keep up with the Vel'Koz anymore.
Seiya taking a lot of damage. Remember, the lack of flash is going to make it really hard to avoid that knock-up coming out from Ceros. And if he does manage to land one at level 6, I mean, you're toast. You really are in a tricky situation, and Seiya just has to kind of go in for the all, go for the all-in.
Ceros is really good with hitting his Qs here, weaving it in between minion waves, while still making sure he farms it out. Gets a knock-up on towards Seiya. The Void Rifts come out as well. Gets both procs on top of that. Ooh, he's doing some work on towards this Draven.
He certainly is. And right now, Ceros, he is about... Ooh, he's 3/4 of the way to level 6, so he's going to hit that level 6 mark much sooner. He's keeping the pressure up on the minion wave. So right now, he has actually claimed the minion wave lead. Unfortunately for Seiya, wasn't able to gain much during the early game aggression. Right now, the court definitely feels like Ceros is the one in control.
Like we said earlier, Team Ice, they have 2 wins already. So Ceros needs to win this for Team Fire to keep their hopes and dreams alive in the 1v1 match here. Seiya still getting pushed underneath his own turret. Ceros making sure he pushes out the wave, gets some good poke damage down. He has hit level 6, so has Seiya. Seiya has taken quite a bit of poke here. The health relic will come back up. Ceros is not able to deny that away from Seiya. And ultimate being used by Draven just to clear out the minion wave.
Yeah, he realizes that what Ceros is trying to do, he decides that the best thing for himself to do is just go back, pick up some items, and try and reset the lane, because it felt like that Ceros was the one with more control. And it looks like he's actually decided to go for the Glacial Shroud. So he's picked himself up more mana, definitely makes a lot of sense. He's gotten himself a bit more cooldown reduction, but his damage is going to be a little bit more lacking, so perhaps he feels that, hey, I don't need more damage, given that my ultimate does true damage. it's unlikely that Seiya's going to be stacking magic resistance anyway, so I may as well build to not die, given that I know I'm going to win the farm, and here we go, he gets the knockout.
He gets quite a bit of damage down there. Seiya still holding on to his knockback in case Ceros decides to use his ultimate. A still good poke coming out from Vel'Koz, making sure he shoves the wave underneath. Draven's turret has a nice minion lead for himself on top of that. Seiya avoids the knock-up, still trying to chase Ceros down, pops up a health potion for himself. He has a Vamp Scepter, so will be able to sustain quite nicely as he auto-attacks these minion waves.
You've made many good points there, Fish. In particular, the E Draven. I quite like the fact that he has, Ceros has to play around that as Seiya. Playing way more aggressively now. The sustain doing him so many favors. You can see getting a chunk of health back, and it's really helping him actually against the Ceros matchup. So Seiya using his ultimate early on to shove the wave and get this back, it's actually done him a massive amount of favor, and now Ceros may only have the option of playing for farm.
The farm is 62 minions to 63 minions. Incredibly close between the two players here. Seiya being a little bit aggressive, trying to chase Ceros down. The Void Rifts are coming out, looking for that little bit of extra damage. But neither champion willing to pull the trigger just yet. Vel'Koz still coming out on top with the poke damage.
A lot of poke, as you rightly said. The sustain slowly falling off because Seiya keeps taking that harass. But 2 farm in the favor of Ceros. I feel like he wants to go for the all-in, but he hasn't quite seen an opportune moment. And Seiya right now just trying to keep the wave as even as possible.
And again, using his ultimate just to clear out the minion wave. Ceros sees Seiya going back to base, immediately stops his recall. Stays in the lane, making sure he can go toe-to-toe against the Vel'Koz, who has about 3 minions more than Seiya at the moment. Still incredibly close.
Seiya might just have to go in for some kind of all-in commitment to try and force Ceros away from some of the farm. But, I mean, if he just keeps playing this stall game, it's not going to work out for him as he just keeps taking the poke.
Looks like he's trying to do just that. Keeps running right behind the minion wave, but Ceros keeps poking him out, making sure he can't go in for that all-engage, but it has given Seiya some breathing room. He's slowly pushing this minion wave towards Ceros. Both of them a little bit low on mana. He's chasing him down. Another good slow comes out from Ceros. Stops Seiya from getting even one auto attack off.
And this is so hard for Ceros because he wants to ult, but he knows that Seiya has the E up. So if he ever throws that ult up, then he's just going to get interrupted. And that actually gives so much room for Seiya to go for the all-in commitment because now that big damaging ability isn't available for Ceros anymore. But, I mean, now Ceros has a full minion wave ahead of him, right? It's 86 to 78. There are 3 waves left for Seiya to try and make some kind of a play, so that window is closing fast.
He's a full minion wave behind Ceros at the moment, who goes back to base, picks up a Seeker's Arm Guard for himself. He's going to have a lot of armor coming back into the lane here. Seiya has picked up a pickaxe for himself and a refillable potion with his brown boots just to give a little bit extra movement speed. Trying to go toe-to-toe against Ceros, trying to zone him away. Takes a turret shot for his troubles here. The Void Rifts are trying to cut into Seiya, but he's dodging back and forth, picking up as many axes as possible. The ultimate comes out, gets a ton of damage down on towards the Draven, cancels it, but a little bit too late, and now they're back to farming in the lane.
And now Seiya's just trying to shove this wave underneath the turret. That's his only hope. He's going all in.
Exhaust has come down by both champions. Ultimate comes out from the Draven, but he's taking so much damage from Ceros. He's trying to even out the minion wave here as the health relic will come out. Ceros is not going to be able to poke him down. He's going to try and farm underneath his own turret.
Now, if he can get the majority of these minion waves, he's going to come very close to actually ending the game on points. 97 to 91. This is the moment that decides it all. Does Seiya go for the farm, or does he go for the all-in?
Seiya has got to try and stop Ceros somehow. He's not auto-attacking the wave. He's letting it stay there. He runs straight towards Ceros, who gets an immediate
Stop pushing the wave, Seiya. Stop pushing the wave. You're just asking yourself to lose. You need to stop. Let the axes drop, otherwise this is going to be it for you.
Well, he's going for a Ceros being very patient. Only 1 minion has been denied. He takes a turret shot. Ceros looking for the damage. He's trying to farm it out. He gets the 100th minion and picks up a win for Team Fire.
Ceros keeping Team Fire in the 1 versus 1 race, but it was so close. 100 farm to 96. And it was a catch-22 situation for Seiya because he needed to keep the axes up to keep that kill threat alive. But at the same time, he really didn't want to push the wave. Otherwise, he was just going to give the farm for Ceros to then just end the game. So it was a really unfortunate situation. He couldn't get the all-in. And a But I mean, like, both players played it very well. It was just a matter of, unfortunately for Seiya, just losing a bit of farm here and there.
Probably not as explosive as we would have liked between two mid laners from the team facing off against one another. So you take a look at the final moments there. Seiya taking a tower shot just allowed Ceros to pick up all the farm in the world that he needed.
But props to Seiya for just slowly, or very carefully, that's the word I'm looking for, carefully guiding his way around those skill shots, using the empowered W to just get that bonus movement speed to avoid all of the knockups, all of the dangerous CCs that could have resulted in his death. I mean, props to him, even though he wasn't able to come out victorious.
It was very well fought out between the two mid laners, and now it is 2-1 in favor of in favor of Team Ice. I believe they're 2-1.
2-1 up in favor of Ice for the time being, yes.
So it's match point for them still. We have to, I believe it's Fire. Team Ice? Fire? I've been telling in my head that it's Team Fire, but I'm pretty sure it's Team Ice.
Ice is the team that is currently in the lead 2-1, yes. We had Oddie coming out with the first victory earlier on in the day, and then we had EvanRL also come out with the victory. So I'm pretty sure it's Ice that are currently 2-1 in the lead, and then we had Ceros just claim a point back for Fire. So Dara is now going to be potentially put under some pressure. Who have we got left? We've got Dara and we've got
Dara and Tussle coming out from
Dara
Japan.
and Tussle.
Then we have Porky and Nerzhul.
Porky and Nerzhul. So a lot of... Ooh, that could be quite interesting because Dara and Tussle, well known for their synergy. But we'll have to see who they're going to bring up next. And it looks like...
It is going to be Dara. Japan support will be taking on the top laner from Latin America North. Porky will be taking to the Rift.
So support versus top laner. Now, you have some experience playing against some supports, I've heard, Fish.
Yeah, in our 1v1 matchup, yesterday during the playtest, had to play against the support. It was very nerve-wracking, but
I can imagine
thankful I got the win.
Yeah, you were. I felt like your aggression was what enabled you to come out on top of that in that 1v1.
I don't know, Vedius. People were telling me it's my cheese. Other people are telling me it's mistakes made by the other player, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm good at this game.
Yeah,
sometimes.
for me, I feel like you're just good at the game. And obviously, for respect, we won't name the support player. We don't want to upset him, but I mean, you should definitely be proud of that victory. I felt like that if you didn't get that victory, it would have really hurt your chances, and we wouldn't have gone to that very tense best of 5 between EU and OCE.
Oh yeah, we went to a game 5. Pyrotechnics taking on Hingers.
Oh my word, that was dramatic, to say the least.
It was a great finale, but we still have another match coming up here that's going to be fantastic to watch. Dara taking on Porky. We already mentioned it's a support up against a top lane matchup, so no more mirror match between the two teams. And it's kind of interesting to see because Dara, used to going to those 2-on-2 lanes. Porky, very used to the isolation in the top lane. We'll have to see if that experience of playing in the top lane is going to help him out here.
Well, we thought that Evie earlier on would be the one using his top lane experience to come out ahead, but that did not work out for him. Now let's see if Dara can upset the top laner as well. For the time being, it looks like fairly standard bans.
So Caitlyn and Syndra being taken away again. Those two champions probably not going to see any 1v1 showtime here as Pantheon is taken away by Team Fire and Quinn is going to be the second ban from Team Ice.
So Naz is still available. Cassiopeia. We've got a bit of Draven and Vel'Koz. Probably Draven and Vel'Koz not quite as high on the priority list for the time being. LeBlanc and Rise also still available. You cannot ban them both.
Draven is going to be taken away by Porky here as Nasus is the final ban from Team Fire as an immediate lock-in of Trundle is going to come out from Porky.
What? All right then, so Porky just sticking to his top lane comfort picks. He feels confident on it. I mean, personally, I can't say that it's like a super strong in the 1v1 necessarily because he's going to struggle against a lot of range champions. I mean, speaking of range champions...
An immediate lock-in of Varus coming out from Dara here. He's going to try and use the man with the bow and arrow to take down the troll.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the early cloth armor coming out from the Trundle this time. Definitely at the level 6 mark with the pillar against a Varus with no flash. He has a lot of kill threat, but does he have a lot of burst? I mean, that's the question, because you have the exhaust as well as the ultimate on top of Dara to disengage from those fights. And you can just play around the farm game again. You can get the poke. You can just take advantage of the fact that you have a larger range. And I mean, I think it's going to be difficult for Porky, to be honest. Like, I mean, I can understand why you'd go for it, because definitely in terms of 1v1 top laners, Trundle is up there in terms of skirmishing and dueling, and in a lot of instances he comes out ahead. But against a Varus, I mean, one of Trundle's hardest matchups is Gnar, and I would say that in terms of poke and wave clear, I would give Varus a little bit more than that.
Pretty much, and you know, maybe his experience up in the top lane might come back to bite him this time as he picks up a comfort pick of Trundle heading into this match against a Varus. Varus is going to be taking Exhaust and Ignite into the Snowdown Showdown on the Howling Abyss, as Trundle will be picking up his Exhaust as well as the Barrier, the same summoner spells we saw Ceros pick up on his Vel'Koz.
I'm not a fan of the barrier on the Trundle. I feel like because you have to go for some kind of an all-in onto a ranged champion, the Ignite perhaps would have been better. But we'll have to see how that one works out later on into the game. I suppose it does help if there's the potential poke. You have the Varus Q. If you're really low health, you have the barrier there available so you don't get sniped out. But what really surprises me is the fact that he's actually decided to go for the Doran Shield rather than the Cloth Armor and the health pots. It looks like that... I mean, it blocks 8 damage from a single target attack. Like, I feel like the Cloth Armor, just the raw armor stats that you get from it, on top of the sustain that you get from the 4 health pots, on top of the natural sustain that Trundle gets, I feel like it would have been a slightly better choice.
It seems like Porky really trying to rely on Trundle's natural sustain as well as that Doran Shield, but you can already see how much damage Dara is
How's
putting
that working,
down
Porky?
on towards Porky. He only has 1 health potion to keep himself nice and topped off. Dara does take a little bit of damage from minions, but he'll slowly heal that one up by auto-attacking them as well.
I mean, early levels, Porky has no kill pressure. He needs at least level 3 because he needs the W for the movement speed bonus, and he needs the pillar to cut off any escape routes from the Varus. So he's just doing what he can to farm under turret. But again, the turret does different damage. I know that that completely threw me off yesterday when I was under turret, and I was like, wait, why can't I last hit anything properly? And that's just because the amount of damage that the turret does is slightly different. So it depends how much experience Porky has, and I would say that he doesn't have much experience playing on this game mode.
You can already see Dara farming up a storm here as Porky keeps getting denied minion after minion underneath his own turret. Finally picked up his 2nd bit of CS. Still yet to pop his own potion as he keeps getting harassed by Dara even underneath his own turret. Finally putting down the frozen domain, trying to push this wave back, but every time he goes close, he'll take a lot of damage. Ignite even being used by Dara there. They're going for the health relic. Dara denies that from Porky, and he's left between a rock and a hard place here as he just can't quite farm.
He certainly is. Forced underneath his turret, Dara already starting to build up a massive CS advantage. And this is where we have to question Porky's preparedness for the 1v1 tournament, in all honesty. Now, there's still plenty of time. He's now level 3. He has a lot more kill pressure. The Ignite is down for Dara. But perhaps he wants to go back and pick up an item for himself before he decides to go for that all-in commitment.
So both champions have used their health potions. Porky going to take a little bit more damage here from Dara, being harassed constantly underneath his own turret. Dara will hit level 4 first and continue raining down the pain of arrows on towards Porky underneath this turret. He's having such a difficult time here. He should have to go back to base. Porky will level up and get a little bit of health back, but that was looking very risky from the troll.
I mean, it still is looking risky. He really doesn't have very much health, and you have to remember those blight stacks, they stack up. There's the exhaust.
Going down, looking for that little bit of extra damage. Porky lives with a sliver of health underneath his own turret. Dara not pulling back the Q to try and find that snipe, and Porky should be able to head back to base.
If I was Porky, I would have used my barrier right there because, I mean, that was well calculated. Was it calculated? Did he take a gamble? We'll never know. But let's just assume that it was a calculation, and Porky was just barely able to get away with that. And he's only going to come back with a corrupting potion. He's got more sustain because he's been denied so much farm, and now the item differential, I just feel like Porky's missed his window.
Might have here as 2 Doran's blades have been picked up by Dara, as well as the longsword and a couple of extra health potions. But one thing that Porky does have going for himself is he has both summoner spells up. Dara does not have either exhaust or ignite available at the moment.
So let's see if Porky goes for the commitment. This is a mistake I made yesterday in my 1v1 against Rusty, where he had no summoner spells and I didn't take advantage of the window, and a large part of that was because the minion wave was pushing against me. It does make it very difficult to go for the hard commit, but he's going for it now.
Porky looking to try and get some damage down on towards Dara, but he's taking a lot of pain in return here. Pops his first portion of the corrupting potion, trying to keep himself nice and topped off. Dara taking some damage from these ranged minions. Porky has had a unique playstyle so far in this 1v1 match.
And, oh, this is just This is really bad for Porky right now because Dara's freezing the wave. He's just making it so much harder for Porky to get close, but he's going to try again.
He's trying to go in for the damage here. Porky has to be a little bit careful. He can't get too close towards the turret. Porky, he's running away. Dara might be able to try and snipe him off if he is able to pull back the Q, but is not going to be able to do so while he has the blighted stacks on towards the Trundle.
Okay, so now the important point comes into the level 6 mark, right? So Porky is about halfway to level 6. Dara is about 3/4. So Dara's going to get the level 6 first. And if he lands that ultimate, then Porky's going to be in a heap of trouble. But he's just going to try. No, I feel like this is your best moment, Porky. You have to go for the commitment. There's a 6.
Level 6. Porky's been locked out. Dara is going to go aggressive here. Barrier's been used by Porky. Dara won't have enough damage. He goes for the shot. Takes an arrow to the knee, but it's just not quite enough as Porky lives with a sliver of health.
Porky, you are so lucky this game. You are playing on a knife's edge right now. Dara, though, his exhaust is going to be coming back up relatively soon. He has the ignite. Porky, please, my friend, you have to go for the commitment. You've got yourselves the Doran's Blade now. Your window is closing fast. You're not going to win on farm. With the exhaust coming up soon, you might not even be able to win an all-in.
His turret is even down to half its health here, Vedius, before we even hit 50 minions for the side of Dara. He's gone back to base. He's picked up a cloth armor for himself, as well as the boots and a couple more potions to head back into his lane. Things are not looking great for Porky at the moment.
Not right now, but he is going to deny the health right away from Dara. He's going to push the minion wave underneath Dara's turret to try and reset it. It's actually better if you can just clear the wave, get it pushed underneath, and then have it bounce back towards you. Then you can try and go for the all-in. But Dara's just using the range to his advantage and preventing Porky from being able to regain wave control. Like, this is just really smart play from Dara. Good wave management to deny Porky as much as he can.
Porky now still trying to farm as much as possible, trying to catch up. It's going to be really difficult because Dara has hit the 50 minion mark. He is halfway there to victory by minions. And Porky is just taking auto attack after auto attack every single time he gets in within range of Dara. Varus does have a nice and long range to help him out with harassing this Trundle.
Now, Porky, look at how close Dara is to you. He's just a juicy target for you to bunch down on. He's right there for the taking. You could just go for it. I mean, this is, I'm talking you through my thought process now. Like, I can kill him, I can kill him, I can kill him, I can kill him, right? And he's gonna try and do it now.
He's gonna try and do just that. Dara does have the ultimate available. Porky is still trying to chase him down. Dara's just running away from the troll. Now turning around, trying to put the pain back down on towards the Trundle. Porky just can't quite get back in range of the Varus, and Dara does a little dance as well to top things off.
Oh, the kite is real. Trundle without your W, it is so difficult for you to close that gap. But as long as he keeps it down, he still has a bit of pressure. Look at the sustain coming out, though. It's really starting to help him a lot. He has the corrupting potion on top of that. But Dara, he can now just play the farm game. Porky, the potential for the all-in is just so small because of how easy it is to kite him out. Both summoner spells are now back up for Dara. He's missed that window. Team Fire.
That's going in. Porky looking for a bit of damage. Puts down the Subjugate. He's been ignited and locked out by the ultimate of Varus. Dara probably won't be able to chase down the troll as he'll use this time to go back. No.
Porky, this is risky. Dara. Oh, he was in range for the Q. I feel like he could have gone for an opportunity there, but one of the problems is that Dara's actually decided to max the E. That's why he's not relying very much on the poke. More utilizing the blight stacks on top of the hail of arrows to really get the harassment down. And for the time being, it's working. A lot of it is because it mitigates a lot of the sustain that Trundle has, not only from his ultimate, but from his natural passive. And it's thanks to that grievous wounds that you get when you stand in those hail of arrows pit.
So already 75 minions to 45 minions. Dara has a 30 minion advantage over this Trundle, and this tower is already below half its health. Dara might just be able to win by a turret kill.
Yeah, I mean, like, that turret is taking a lot of damage. Porky, he doesn't have his ultimate available. He doesn't have the exhaust.
I think that Dara's going to win by turret kill here. Porky has no health, has his barrier back up, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to hold on here. Dara might be able to tie the game up 2-2 for Team Fire. He's getting some decent damage on towards Porky, puts down the exhaust. The barrier's being used as well. Dara is chasing towards the troll, puts it down. The hail of arrows will be enough, and he takes down the troll to tie it up 2-2.
I feel like this was just inevitable. Porky had a number of opportunities where he could have gone for the all-in, decided not to commit, didn't have the damage because of how much farm was denied from him. He didn't have the items that he needed to really go for the commitment. And it was just simply a matter of I mean, just time, really. It was just a very unfortunate setup for Porky. And I mean, Dara's management of the waves as well, the poke, the relentless harassment that he was putting down, just Dara had the perfect matchup he could have got.
We can see the final moments of that fight there. Was eventually a kill by First Blood. Sorry, a win by First Blood, but it could have been anything, Vegas.
It could have, yeah. Dara had a number of options, and Porky, I feel like he should have just caved under the pressure sooner and tried to go for the all-in. He was just prolonging the inevitable. But still, Dara keeping Team Fire in this race. Now 2-2. That's all down to this final matchup.
It is going to be all the way down to the final matchup, and it's no secret anymore. There are only 2 players left. It's going to be Tussle from Japan taking on Nerzhul from Latin America North. The jungler taking on the support here, Vedius. This is going to be the final match between Fire and Ice.
Well, we've already seen a support taking down a top laner. We've already seen a jungler in our first match take down the top laner, and now we're going to see the jungler versus the support. Now, Tussle regarded as a very talented player in terms of his mechanics. He likes to go for the Lee Sin, he likes to go for the Rek'Sai, he likes to farm to 6 and get a very early Tiamat. He likes to go for these aggressive plays. This is what he's known for. This is what he made a name for himself for during the International Wildcard tournament. And Nerzhul, I wonder how well he's going to be able to deal with this sort of pressure coming out from Tussle. Is he even going to give Tussle the opportunity to go for that pressure? Maybe he'll play for something safe. Maybe he'll go for something like the Varus himself.
I know you're really highly spoken of Tussle here, because when we were sitting out earlier discussing notes about Tussle playing in this 1v1 match, you're like, yeah, you know, last time we saw Tussle play, he was able to 1v9 quite a few of their games. So in a 1v1, probably has an advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, his Lee Sin is pretty terrifying, and Lee Sin reasonable in the 1 versus 1. He's particularly good against ranged champions as well, especially if you go for something like the Thunderlord spec. You just have a surprising amount of burst, and you can jump to the minions to close the gap. You can throw down the E to get the slow, and then all you need is the ult, the kick, the ignite. You have the damage to deal. It's just a matter of being able to land it.
Well, another thing we have yet to see here today, or in these 1v1 matches, is the gentleman's agreement of picking the exact same champion. So there's still a chance here, but I highly doubt it between these two, as we are on to the 5th and final game of the 1v1 tournament between Japan and Latin America North. Nasus and Quinn being banned out here by Team Fire, as Pantheon and Rengar being taken away by Team Ice.
I really like the chuckle there from Tussle as he saw the Rengar ban. He was like, ah, you knew what I was going to try and do. But it looks like that's going to be taken away. Caitlyn also taken off the board, so nothing too unconventional. We're looking at the Cassio still available, Syndra, LeBlanc, Rise, Varus is still up too. Hey, you could go for a Trundle again. Would not recommend it. But there it is. The Varus going to be taken off the board too, so a lot of mid laners up.
And another laugh coming out from Tussle there as he sees the Varus being banned out by Nerzhul. He's hovering over Misfortune. I would like to see Misfortune being picked up in a 1v1.
Wouldn't it be great if we had an Urgot Misfortune final, just like our very own final? It would be so sweet.
It certainly would, but we could actually just see a mirror match here. That is a possibility.
Oh.
As a Misfortune one-trick myself, I'm excited for this.
Misfortune? Those exist?
You'd be surprised, Phineas.
Oh, my word. Australia, ladies and gentlemen. But still, I mean, he's only hovering over it. You should never talk about a hoverfish. You know the baits.
I don't know. It
I mean,
almost seems too good to be true.
She is pretty good in terms of the 1 versus 1 because you can use the Q, the farm to harass the backline.
Hey, we do get it. And they both laugh. They know this was blind. This was not pre-planned. There's no gentleman's agreement here. They just both happen to pick Misfortune.
So, we are going to a 5th game. It's 2-2. Jungler versus support, and they're both playing an AD carry, the same AD carry, to determine who will be moving forward.
Couldn't have been scripted better here, Vedius, as we are going into that 5th and final match. Misfortune, you know, we had LeBlanc was still up, Syndra was still available. That was a champion that's been banned out in most of the 1v1 matches so far, but they've still gone for Misfortune instead.
Yeah, no Ezreal either, which is very surprising. You know, something that, again, you managed to win on, right? Fish managed to win on it, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Fish,
I feel like that's a little bit of an insult.
No. You're a very good player. I'll give you that. Hey, the winners are casting right now. That's all that matters, all right?
That's right.
But I mean, we have to talk about this matchup. Misfortune versus Misfortune. Right? Both of them use the same skills, okay? Right? Both of them can harass with the Q. Both of them, I don't think they're going to max the E. I mean, you could for poke, but are you going to play the farm game or are you going to play the all-in? I feel like if you're playing a mirror matchup, you have to play all-in.
Well, you also have the opportunity of going 1 AP and 1 AD, but that's not the case because both of them have picked up a Doran's Blade here, as both Misfortunes will strut into the Howling Abyss for the Snowdown Showdown. Nerzhul taking on Tussle.
Tussle actually going for a bit more sustain with the biscuit rather than a little bit more damage that you can go for during your mastery tree. I believe it's the middle one. I forget the name. The same with ability names. It's QWER, and middle tree, left, red tree, green tree, blue tree.
Oh. Like you mentioned earlier, Vedius, you know, 2 misfortunes. It's tied up 2-2. This is match point for Team Fire and Team Ice as well for today. Both of them are tied up 2-2.
Oh, no, please.
Oh, no. I was trying to make a point, guys.
And they're just laughing at your point. That's what they're doing.
Well, it all comes down, Vedius, to who's going to press their buttons better here.
Yep.
Well, 2 misfortunes.
Tussle trying to get the early push on. I mean, if you can push the wave underneath the turret, that's definitely a big advantage because you know how hard it is to farm underneath the turret. And if they are going to be playing for farm, you want to try and get that lead as soon as you can.
So we can see Tussle starting up with the double up. Nerzhul, on the other hand, taking Make It Rain. And already the double up getting quite a bit of damage down on towards Nerzhul. Tussle going to try and trade behind the minion life. Getting a lot of damage down. The double up's going to come back up for Tussle, but he's taking minion aggro the entire time he's trading with Nerzhul.
Interesting that Nerzhul decided not to go for the Thunderlords. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tussle actually picked that one up. But the early level 2 from Nerzhul, right now he is the aggressive. There's the exhaust!
Exhaust in the night going down. Make a rain comes out from Tussle. He's going to be able to get it. First blood comes out from Tussle. And Japan are going to be the victors of this one-on-one matchup against Latin America North.
Nerzhul, you tried to take advantage of the early level 2, but Tussle got it on a dying minion, which means that Nerzhul, you used the exhaust first, Tussle could use his exhaust second, and it was just that difference, the difference in the timing of the exhaust that determined the game. Wow, what a way to end this. Team Fire going to be moving forward. I don't know if you can call that a contest of skill. I mean, that was just luck. That was pure luck. Just look at this, look at this. So you can see Tussle level 1, Nerzhul level 2, and it is that minion that died just behind Nerzhul that gives Tussle the early level advantage, and then he gets the exhaust down second, which enables him to start dealing damage sooner. And that is what enables him to win out in the 1v1.
You say luck, Vedius, I say skill there coming out from Tussle. You know, getting that last auto attack, knows that he can go for that one-on-one and picks up the victory for Japan. And it was a 3-2 reverse sweep coming out from Japan as well to pick up the victory for Team Fire. It looked like it was ice all the way. They picked up to 2 early wins. And then we saw the mid-lane matchup coming out. We thought definitely they could try and close out the game there, but a couple of errors eventually, especially during the draft phase, you could say.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. The reverse sweep going out from Team Fire, very enjoyable best of 5, and I'm glad that we did end up going to all 5 games that with some really good close meaning behind it.
Well, with that, Fire has come out on top over ice in the first phase of the IWCA 1v1 tournament. Let's head back over to the analyst desk to break down how it happened.
Thank you very much, Tuna. Well, how it happened. There's a lot of bloodbaths in the early games, some farm fests in the middle, and Japan closing it out honorably with some kills, not farming to 100. Thank you, Japan, for not farming to 100.
Yeah, the Warrior's death. He did a Rusty, which was like good to see, because Vedius, he was gloating there, which I couldn't believe after he just like got gifted the win. Unbelievable.
Yeah, to be fair for those of you who missed it, Rusty was winning. He could have farmed it out, went in for the 1v1, and lost. We'll say honorably. We'll give you the credit there. But, of course, let's focus in on this matchup. We have a couple things that we want to hit. Let's talk about Game 1 first. Rengar versus Swain. What do you guys think of that one?
I think there was a lot of mind games involved with this particular one. The Rengar pick needed a melee champion or an AD carry into it. He just happened to get gifted Swain, who wants to get level 6 and, you know, be a bully and harass. Didn't give the opportunity there and ended up finding a pretty cheeky win from just the Rengar pick.
Yeah, I actually really like the Rengar pick in general. It's very all-in. Like, if your opponent gets a back off, you're pretty much screwed. But if you get them, at least in the first, like, before they get that back off, is a possibility. He has so much control over the lane when he gets priority on the bush, which is why we actually saw him able to pick up the kill. However, Swain kind of walked in when he went for the sustain build, could have gone late game, could have just carried on popping pots, but he actually gave Rengar an in. I don't think Rengar will be meta from what we've seen, but it's a really good pick against the likes of an ADC.
Well, now, coming into Game 2, I think we were all expecting a farm fest. Nasus versus Ashe, AP Nasus farming up, but when we look exactly how the game unfolded, things went, you know, admittedly a little bit differently in that one overall. And wasn't farm, it was farm for so long, and then suddenly it got a little bit crazy, but I mean, you got to respect the farm at first.
There's pretty intense moments here, you know, watching EvanRL playing this Susan. Definitely aiming for minions more than he was the Ashe, as you can see. But this is the moment where he actually is able to turn it around. Wither and Exhaust, when you're against a Nasus, just makes it impossible as an AD carry to do anything.
I mean, like the same on Summoner's Rift. If you have an angry Nasus coming towards you like that, you're just going to die. And especially because he went Ashe. If he'd went anything else and just played a different type of game, maybe he would have picked up the win. But honestly, when you're picking Susan, you're going for a very boring game anyway. You're just looking to shove your opponent in. You go AP, you go maximum BM, you go for the double Doran's rings, and then that's just the game you play.
And that's part of the strategy as well of picking the Nasus. You want to actually tilt your opponent into wanting to fight you when you can just turn that around with the exhaust and everything that you have handy. Hit minions, just be a real pain in the ass until they actually turn it on you.
And that happens.
Of course. Well, so looking at Game 3, of course, just a very back and forth farm fest. Not a whole lot I think we can say there. But Game 4, we felt like there were some big opportunities despite the Trundle pick, despite being down. There were opportunities for the Trundle to come back that we just did not see. And one that we want to focus in on is right before we see Varus use his ultimate, we're like, Trundle, go! We're all screaming it. Vedius is screaming it. We want to see it. And just that little bit of hesitation seems to have cost so much.
Yeah, I mean, the sentiment of everyone was just like, why would you pick Trundle? And just before you see this ultimate come in was actually an opportunity that Trundle was given to get in there. There was 2 opportunities in this game he never should have gotten, but he lands the pillar, goes in, and then opts to back away, which were his ins to actually win the game. Trundle, I can kind of see it with a sustain later into the game, but you know they're going to pick a ranged champion. So there's such a low chance of you actually winning the game in the first place. But if you do go for it, pop the ultimate, pop the pillar, you hit it, you just go in. You're not getting out of there.
Yeah, but he had to all in. The fact that he didn't all in that one moment means he recalls and we all watch this slowly dying, losing game that eventuates where 3 win conditions out of 3 were all there for the Varus.
Absolutely. Towers, CES, the kill also in his hands, of course, very close. But we have to praise Dara as well. Did play pretty phenomenally. But then that brings us to Game 5. Misfortune on misfortune action. No misfortune versus Urgot, but a curious one at that. And this one, interesting to me because it felt so close for the first few minutes.
Yeah, and it was actually highlighted quite well in the casters area there where they said the level 2 was a big strategy Tussle was going for. There was a lot of confidence plays, and firstly we had to question what spells they were going to start with, and all things considered actually was quite even. It was just that level 2 decision where it actually went a little bit awry because he all-in thought he had the level advantage but didn't actually have the spell up at the same time.
And of course you can see it here, the final moments of that 1v1, the 1v1 that would win it all for Japan in the end, and it honestly looked pretty good.
And the difference here is that Make It Rain's not available for LAN's Misfortune. That was the difference in damage. That's where the first blood comes out. It's a small detail, but in the end, he used it to get level 2, and it came back to bite him.
So interesting, gentlemen. We've seen one day of 1v1s now, the new 1v1 meta, 1 year since the last IWCA. So I'm curious, is there any new champion you think that will remain a standout over the next couple of days? What stood out the most to you?
So we did hit the nail on the head with talking like the likes of Pantheon, Quinn, Caitlyn, pretty much permabans. Syndra as well we didn't hit on, but is a permaban as it makes sense as she is so strong right now. I would expect to see more Kennen if it's not banned out. Actually a really good pick. If Pantheon is just a permaban, then Kennen rises in priority because you can't just throw spears at Kennen and he actually bullies you, so he wins most of those range matchups. In terms of what we saw today, maybe we'll see some more Susan. Draven was actually pretty good in that 1v1, but I'm not sure that's going to be meta as such. And then maybe we'll see some Rengar if someone's looking a little bit cheesy and doesn't feel confident in their own skills to go for that 1v1, but outside of that, I think we just need to carry on seeing how it evolves.
Yeah, the only other thing that I'd add to that is actually the Vel'Koz that we saw from Ceros. He's a good Vel'Koz player, and you do have to be a good Vel'Koz player to do it, but you can make that work really effectively against the squishier AD carries. So if you know who you're playing against, you can adjust your strategy appropriately.
So if there was not, let's say, a Draven, is there any champion that can start to all-in that Vel'Koz that can look to more aggressive, or do people just have to pick a different champion that can farm equally as well and kind of just resign themselves to that battle to 100 CS?
There's a few champions that can always go in onto the Vel'Koz. It's all just about dodging the E effectively to find your way in on top of him. So anything that has a gap close can make it work. Champions like Ezreal can actually match the poke and find opportunities to outplay and go all in. There are still options, but I think Vel'Koz really doesn't have counterplay once he gets control of the minions.
Yeah, I think like maybe Nasus could be another answer to that as well. It depends on how like the pushing is, because Void's Rift, when you have 2 stacks, like pretty much nothing is going to outpush that in the first place. Maybe if Nasus gets a back off and can get like a bit more AP, he can shove. But I think in general, yeah, Vel'Koz, once he gets rolling, is pretty hard to shut down.
Maybe the hidden OP in the Battle of Farm. Not always the one we want to see, but at the end of the day, a win as a win. And one day of Mayhem is now down 3 to go, and Team Fire is just ahead of Team Ice. 3-2. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the games across today?
There was a couple of really heavy hitting games. So Brazil and CIS was the most exciting one to me. We saw a lot of positives from both of them. And on top of that, we also saw the super team of Turkey actually showing what they have, because they looked very convincing.
For me, it's just expectations of how the teams were coming into the tournament, right? Like you were seeing Turkey and like Brazil, powerhouse teams, CIS even, and then you see like the dark horses of the tournament, like Japan is just like 3rd, 4th, but able to break into the top 2, and we saw what Japan can offer today.
And Latin America South as well, putting up some good numbers, and of course at the end of the day, Japan, solid day for them to start, 1 win, winning out in the 1v1s overall. But now let's take a chance to look at what's coming up tomorrow, because for those of you who don't remember, it is Assassins mode. Only Assassins up and available, and you can see the schedule. Starting off with Turkey versus Oceania. I'm sure Rusty's excited about that one. Latin America South versus Japan. Both winners in their first day. We'll see if they can keep it up. Southeast Asia versus the CIS. Latin America North versus Brazil. And a special double edition of the 1v1 matchup. CIS versus Turkey and Brazil versus Latin America South.
So I'm pretty happy because we have Assassin mode tomorrow, so we actually get to see the Assassins on Assassin mode and the Assassin patch, because what we saw today was just like, oh boy, we're going to see all these new picks. Nope, tanks, 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 because Colossus is such a good mastery. So people are actually forced to pick Assassins, and then we get to see them test their mettle.
We figured it out, guys. We just make a new mode that's not like regular League of Legends, where they have to pick new and interesting things and don't just pick boring meta champions. Rusty, what Assassin are you most excited to see?
Honestly, I'm most excited to see Katarina, so Vedius can stop talking about Katarina. That is the only thing that I really want to see. Other than that, perhaps champions like Kha'Zix in the Assassin mode can stand out and use their invisibility in a very unique and exciting way.
Absolutely. Well, I second the vote on Katarina. Vedius a little too eager at times to bring that one up. But for now, it's time for us to vamos. So thank you, Rusty. Thank you, Pulse, of course, to Mithy as well, and Vedius for joining me on the desk, and everyone here on the broadcast. We'll see you back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central European Time, 4 a.m. Pacific, as the IWC continues. Buenos noches.
Flash gets himself over the wall. Oh my goodness! The Prey Seeker finds him. Earth's in trouble. Collateral damage is there. Red buff. Oh my god! Picks it up with a smoke screen. He's taking a lot of damage. Has to flash to get out of the Tempered Fate. And there's the flash. No, just pops him. See ya later. Oddie just gets sniped by the Curtain Call Seiya. Really good stun, but it's a double kill for Naru.
Oh, here we go. Life Bomb disintegrates. Oh, he'll fall over. That's first blood going to Ceros. Here comes Ceros. Lasers down Lee Sin. And that will be resulting in a 2-for-2. We're maybe looking for more. Dara sending up the kill on Swiffer. Goodbye. The hero play that OCE need to keep this game alive did not pan out. He's got an angry Vayne on his backside. Beck comes in, and that's the double kill for the Vayne in the 2v2. I believe the time is to back away. Oh! That is actually disgusting. Oh, look, here comes the
Ignite's going in, he's looking for it, but still, it's going to be first blood that gets picked up by the Rengar. Make a raid, comes out for a Tussle.